lovely people. It's me, Star O'Hara from Dispatches from Dystopia and Extremists Being Awesome, here with another episode of the Dispatches from Dystopia podcast. This is episode 3, Expansion and Contraction in Busy-ness. So last week in episode 2, we discussed the concept of laziness as a state of contraction. And after releasing that episode, I had some further thoughts on the concept of expansion versus contraction in life. And so I wanted to follow up with a discussion on how contraction can sometimes manifest as busyness. If you hear cats in the background, I do not apologize. So, to freshen our memories on the concept of contraction versus expansion. So, expansion is when you're growing, learning, creating, taking self responsibility, interacting in a mutually satisfying way with others, and working toward the fulfillment of your own purpose in life. Expansion requires effort, but it often feels effortless because you're fully committed to the activity you're engaged in, meaning there's no internal resistance happening. And contraction, on the other hand, is when, because of some fear or resentment of the world and of life, you hold back, hold in, and tighten up and refuse to expand. You don't get much done because you're not committed to anything. So, we dealt with a lot about how this works last week with the experience of laziness. And today we're going to talk about it in terms of busyness. One obvious and probably maybe a little bit extreme example of this contraction is the person who despises their job. So they hate their coworkers, they hate their boss, they hate the customers. They find the work itself to be boring or demeaning or purposeless. And yet they continue to go to this job every day and do the work, clock in and push the buttons or make the widgets or whatever it is and deal with the customers. And they just hate every minute of it. So this person is not having the experience of laziness. They're having the experience of busyness. They're very busy. And in fact, even in their off hours, they're probably still very busy. But all of this busyness is done from a position of severe contraction. It's contraction on the emotional, mental, spiritual levels. And there's very little commitment to the activities that are being done. The only commitment is probably a feeling of being owned by the job. If I don't go to work, I don't get paid. I have to do this. My employer owns my time. Do you know how much mental and emotional energy it takes to hate? Like, if we could quantify it scientifically, I think we'd be very impressed at how much bandwidth this state of mind hogs up, how little juice it leaves, how little juice is left over to even enjoy your relationships, your hobbies, if you even have any, or even your dinner, and much less energy left over to accomplish anything in the way of ambition or fulfillment of purpose. So maybe some of you have had this experience. I know I have. You've mentally enslaved yourself to this particular employer. And most likely you're blaming the employer for this experience when in ultimate reality, there's no reason why you couldn't create a better experience for yourself. But it's not just jobs, though. This contraction in busyness also occurs in relationships, it occurs in family, community, pretty much anything you do in life, this can happen. It's not always characterized by hatred either, because sometimes the driving emotion is bitterness toward your obligation toward others, which isn't quite hatred. It's just this like unpleasant feeling towards the people that you feel obligated to, or fear of uncertainty that prevents you from trying something different, trying a new way. Maybe when you were a kid, you were like the smart, studious kid in the group project who then everybody expects you to do all the work. And then in adulthood, you might have become the person in the group who everyone expects to do all the preparations, the planning, and the coordinating for any event or get together. And you take it on yourself to do all of these things, to handle everything. But inside, you're hardcore resisting, thinking, like, why am I always the one who has to do all this stuff? Oh, fine, I'll take care of them since they can't take care of themselves. So this results in a lot of stress, overwhelm, and it's common among hardworking mothers. because we take on more responsibilities, more projects, more other people's problems than we can really reasonably manage. And although we're always busy working on something, we never feel like we get anything done. And then we're always tired and stressed out all the time. And then we're unable to fully give in our role of motherhood or wife or whatever we also have to do, like, are also doing, like running a business or um, working a job. It happens because our commitments are confused. We might be unsatisfied with our current life in some way, and this prevents us from committing to the present as it is. We maybe are committed to this far off dream of what it could be. And this prevents us from like slowing down, being in the moment, and committing to what we're doing right now. Or um, we might be down on ourselves, feeling like we're not good enough. We don't match the perfect image of motherhood that we see on Instagram, or we might be mourning what we perceive as the death of our dreams, our individuality before we had children. But in some way, we're contracted, we're resisting. Part of us resist the effort that we have to put into our day to day lives because it's either because of a real or an imagined problem, and all of our busyness, the flurry of activity doesn't feel expansive because we're not fully committed. So I'm intimately familiar with this overwhelm syndrome. You can get to this point where you're serving 100 different masters and don't feel committed to any of them, only obligated. The boss, the school board, the laundry, the needy friends, the neighborhood committee, whatever, the perfect Instagram mom, that concept. Uh, because if you were committed, they wouldn't feel like they wouldn't feel like masters. They would feel like partners and inspiring motivators. So again, just like we addressed in last week's episode on laziness, the answer here is to commit. You find a way to commit, and it's going to look different depending on you and your circumstances. Maybe the commitment you need right now is to commit to change, looking for a job that you don't hate, for instance, or reorganizing your life in some way so that what you do is important to you. Maybe it's dropping extra obligations that don't inspire commitment in you, laying down some boundaries, being willing to say no when people come expecting you to take care of things that aren't really your responsibility. In this way, you're committing to yourself instead of being obligated to others for things that aren't really true obligations. You're committing to yourself and saying, my health and my time is important, is valuable to me, and I'm going to take care of it. Or maybe it's finding some reason, some motivation in your current situation that can provide a level of satisfaction or fulfillment, even if it's just while you're looking for ways to improve that situation. So, like at work, making a customer smile. If I can make a customer smile today, then I will feel like I've fulfilled my purpose of being here today. Or at home with your family, keeping your kids in clean clothes, like when you're doing the laundry, reminding yourself, slow down, this is important work, this is fulfilling work. Or nourishing your physical body, sitting down and actually being present while you're eating nutritious food that's nourishing your body. So we each do 100 different things every day, and life has become so complex in the modern age. And we can't be fully committed to each one of those things all the time. That would be impossible. We don't work that way. So what I'm suggesting is not that. I'm suggesting ways that you find ways to fully commit to what you're doing while you're doing it. So turning an obligation into a commitment instead of I have to do this, I need to do this, I'm committed to doing this, I want to do this, this is fulfilling for me. And if you can't or don't want to commit, if you can't find a way to commit to what you're doing, consider that maybe whatever it is isn't for you, you know. So that's it. That's it for today. And I just want to give a little plug for my productivity group, Extremists Being Awesome. We're a merry band of free thinking anarchists and voluntarists and radicals. And we meet almost every day online for deep work, productivity, and accountability with fun social breaks. I'm currently running a special discount for 20% off the monthly or annual membership fee. So check out the links in this post to find more. And you can always find my work on my Substack, Dispatches from Dystopia, link below. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.